I'm going to start off and just wildly assume you all know what Shazam is. For those who don't, quite simply, we're an app that recognises music and TV. We are a truly global service, so we have 300 million active users on our platform. And to kind of tie nicely to Chris's point about data, we see 20 million Shazams made a day. And if you want to drill it down even kind of like to the minute, we see 13,000 Shazams. So people getting their phone out and engaging with media around them. So we are, a lot of people sometimes get confused about what we do. We're not a streaming service. We're not a download store. We connect to all the stores that you use. So, and the good thing for the industry and for artists as well is that we help drive a lot of streams. So we see 30 million clicks per month to Spotify, Apple Music, and we're still helping sell downloads as well. Still holding on in there. We see around 400,000 songs downloaded a day. So people Shazamming on almost like that kind of impulse buy, downloading it to their phone straight away. So part of my job really is to sort of connect to the music industry and figure out ways that we can work together. As I mentioned, Shazam helps scale. So if you have an artist that's trending on our platform, quite often that could be the first step to getting pushed up from the C-list to the A-list on Radio 1, or quite simply just reconnecting with those fans. And I hate the word journey, but I'm going to use it. Right. So one thing that's always been kind of, as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of interest with our data with the industry. We put out Shazam charts each week, and we have a pretty high success rate in terms of predicting a hit. More often than not, we predict a hit around 6 to 8 weeks in advance. So something will trend in the Shazam charts, and then it will go on to top the Apple Music charts, or the Spotify charts, or the OCC charts. I've been at the company for 9 years now, and initially, we were a text-based service, and I had to sort of explain what we were to the industry. But we're at the point now where we work really closely with labels, because more often than not, data is what starts the conversation. So, if an artist is trending on our platform, it opens up a conversation, and we figure out how to work with the label. And more often than not as well, what we're doing a lot more now is working closely with the artists. So this is a lovely pink slide. It goes really well with the curtains. But this is one of many slides we've got like this, and this is Designer, a track called Panda. I don't know if you guys know this. It's a bit of a banger that was really big last year. So we saw this kind of trend on our platform in December 2015. And we've got these kind of different buckets that we use internally. So you've got the Shazam watch list, trending list, and hot list. And these can kind of like trigger in a variety of ways. So you might be trending in New York, or, I guess internally there's sort of flags in our data that we sort of, I guess it puts a song on our radar. So we start to look at it. We then open up a conversation with the label, with the artist, and figure out ways to work together. But the interesting thing about this as well, that, as you can see there, in December 2015, Designer popped up on our radar. Fast forward to April 2016, so about 5 months, it hits its Billboard peak. So more often than not, you'll see tracks trend on Shazam before they trend on Spotify, before they trend in any charts or anything like that. So while this is all really good, what we wanted to do was, rather than us kind of something like a Panda flag on our kind of internal dashboard, we wanted to communicate this to the artist community, and we wanted to figure out ways to work directly with artists. And as I mentioned earlier, sometimes Shazam numbers are absolutely huge. So something like Designer would have millions of Shazams on our platform, and each time you Shazam, we've now changed, we've converted you to a follower. So you will now follow Designer on our platform. Sorry, I'm slightly rambling. But right, so we developed Shazam for Artists initially as a verification platform for artists. And what this means is, essentially like Twitter and Facebook with the blue tick, you can get verified on Shazam. And it allows you, through our kind of in-app services, to re-communicate with those fans. So someone like David Guetta has been Shazammed, I think, by about 60 million plus people globally. So what we did was allow, initially, the artists themselves from their phone to Shazam a track and then post that into the newsfeed of all their followers. But predictably, it wasn't always artists who were going to do this. Labels wanted to do this. Managers wanted to do this. So what we did, we allowed kind of labels and managers to post on their artist's behalf. And we saw some pretty crazy numbers on this as well. So David Guetta shared Inner Circle Sweat, bit of a 90s classic. I don't know if you guys know it. But when he shared that through the newsfeed in Shazam, we saw 65 times increased views on YouTube, a ton of extra downloads, and 75 times more streams as well. So when an artist shares a song through our platform, it has powerful results for that other artist. And what we did, again, once we sit down with artists and we sit down with labels, we think about ways that we can be creative with them and create a bit of a story around Shazam. So we've got a curator's profile on Apple Music. So we work with Island Records and Disclosure. So when the new album came out last year, not only did they share all the tracks through the newsfeed, but then they also put together a playlist with some of the tracks from the album and some of the artists that are featured on on the album as well. So again, just cool ways that we can work with the artist community and figure out cool ways to do things. So going back to that kind of verification program I mentioned a minute ago, as I said, it was unrealistic really for people to manage it through their phones. So we built something called Shazam Connect, and this allows you to post on your artist's behalf. But I guess going back to the start as well, there's so much interest around our data. What we then do, part of Connect, is give you a little bit of information about those followers. So each time you post, not only do you get information on number of likes, but if you have got, say, 60 million followers like David Guetta, it's okay, where are they? What's their age? What's the split between male and female? And all this stuff as well, we just kind of feed back to the industry. So another thing that we've been doing, again, just to kind of like further connect with artists, is actually get them into our office. So in this case, JP Cooper. JP came into the office, and we kind of sat down with him and said, okay, you've had over 300,000 people Shazam your music, and these are the countries they're in. Here's your most Shazam tracks. And more often than not, they'll kind of be quite staggered, actually, because the numbers on our platform are quite often higher than they've had on other social platforms as well. And things like when JP gets to play in the office, which is always nice as well. And again, just to go back to what I mentioned about designer earlier, we were kind of, all these kind of tracks that flag up on our internal watch lists, rather than us just kind of sit in the office and go, okay, that's really nice. What we've started doing is communicate it to artists as well, especially with developing artists as well. So artists who may not have a label, we've started reaching out to these guys and giving them, just saying, hey, you're in the watch list in Canada, or you're trending in New York. And the response rate we get is staggering. People love it. These artists love it. And then they'll post that to all their socials. And what we start to do is, we help them with collateral. And again, it's just ways to ensure that Shazam's front of mind with the artist community. So kind of what I want to do now is, I guess, talk about a couple of tech updates that we've had that, again, just help our users interact with music in a slightly different way. So we just did a deal with Snapchat that you guys might have seen. But essentially what we've done, we've integrated our technology inside Snapchat. So when you open up Snapchat and have the front-facing camera, press it, and then if music is playing, Shazam will recognize it. So that's great for us, because obviously we see a ton of engagement through a different platform. And arguably as well, it's opening up our tech to a slightly younger demographic as well. As I was kind of mentioned earlier, when we sit down with artists, we're trying to figure out different ways we can work together with them. So Snapchat is one way for people to discover your music in a slightly different way. And another tech update that we've done recently is move towards visual recognition. So I don't know if you guys have seen this, but we have the ability to ingest images into our database. And obviously when we put this out there, that gets kind of a ton of exciting ideas. And this is one that we did recently with Robbie Williams, the guys at IE Music and Ticketmaster. So we created the world's first, blow my own trumpet, but the world's first interactive concert ticket, I think. I've not seen another one. But so what you do is you buy this collector ticket to Robbie Williams' tour, and when that comes through in the mail, you scan it with Shazam, and then that opens up Robbie Williams' content. Quite a simple kind of activation, but again, it just kind of allows people to engage with artists in a slightly different way. And one thing that Chris mentioned earlier as well, that when people kind of buy tickets, more often than not, this term ghosting comes into effect, where he mentioned that you'll buy 4 tickets, but you only have data on one person. What we can start to do now is, we can work with people like the Robbie Williams team and say, okay, you posted out X amount of these tickets, here are the people who engage with that. You can retarget them, or we can message them further down the line. And again, it's another thing on the kind of visual recognition that we've done recently as well is working with Island Records around their kind of range of beers. So this is quite a random one, but Island Records have released a range of beers. I think there's about 3 or 4 out now. And the whole kind of tagline was best served with music. and he created these playlists, which essentially were meant to accompany the beer. So we sat down with the guys at Island Records and thought, okay, you've made a lot of, you developed this beer, you've got these playlists, how can we connect the two? So when you scan the can with Shazam, it takes you straight to that playlist, so you can literally listen to that, those tracks while you're drinking the beer. And again, it's just kind of, for me, going back to what we're doing with artists, it's quite great for us to see now that not only can a fan maybe Shazam your music off the radio, but now they can maybe discover your music through Shazamming a beer can. And I think a Shazam-labeled beer is probably a good place to leave it. I probably won't have any more today, but hopefully that's going to be useful. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, then chat to me afterwards. Cool.